Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos, and in today's video we have some more 10.2 PTR news to cover. First off, we have M Plus and raid testing coming up this weekend, which you'll see content on this channel about. You may have heard that I was going to go get my wisdom teeth taken out and be missing a couple days, but they moved that to next month, so the content will continue here. We are going to have 6 M Plus dungeons, which is everything except for Everbloom and Throne of the Tides that's in the new season rotation. And there's an update to the doors in Waycrest Manor, so we'll see what they've done there. That's exciting. So yeah, that'll be happening starting on Thursday and ending Monday, so a lot of time to test some M+, and there will be videos about that, hopefully. We've also got PTR testing coming up for the raid, and this is basically every Thursday, Friday for the next 5 weeks. And then there's also some normal and raid finder testing over some of the weekends. That's usually how they do it, is they'll turn on the normal or raid finder on the Friday after the mythic or heroic testing is done on any given time. So yeah, we've got 4 heroic bosses that will be done this week. Now this is subject to change. Sometimes they don't quite hit these, but if these are indeed tested this week, those videos will come out on this channel soon afterwards. Over the next couple of days, I'll put together a little video about each of these bosses. So they're not testing Farrak on any difficulty, but they are testing the other 8, because it's a 9-boss raid. And that's, yeah, all the heroic bosses over the next 2 weeks, and then all the mythic bosses over the following 2 weeks. I probably won't do too much normal raid content, but maybe I will take a look at the normal testing weekend, which is next weekend. Maybe we'll do some stuff in there, but probably mostly will just be the heroic and the mythic testing. All right, in other news, we talked a little bit in one of the previous videos about item level changes, but there is confirmation from Blizzard that the item level increase is now 39 between tiers, or at least this tier, rather than 26, which was standard. Which does have a few implications. It means it's going to feel a little bit more like the start of a expansion rather than a new season. And that means that Mythic Aberrus gear and Heroic Aberrus gear, Season 2 gear of any kind, is going to be worse than it normally would have been going into a new season. So stuff like wearing a Whispering Incarnate icon for a while going into the new tier, that effectively has gotten 13 eye levels worse with, if you think about wearing like an Ominous Chromatic Essence into the new tier, instead of having like a good normal trinket, you now have a good LFR trinket relative to the current content, which will likely make almost all of those items something you want to replace in the first week rather than in the first few weeks, if you can. So that is a big change. It sort of lessens the import of spamming, of getting your characters fully bis from raid this season. If you're in one of those like mythic progression guilds like I am, that seems less important now. Whereas what seems way more important is spamming the absolute most M+ you possibly can in the first week, because you know those item levels are now those items are 13 eye levels better relative to your old gear than they would have been. So that is sort of the new incentive here. You can see the new eye levels. Amirdrasil LFR is basically old Mythic Aberrus eye level, and then everything else is a 13 eye level bump for each difficulty. And then there's also M+ relative eye level, and you can see pretty much, so baking in the 39 eye levels instead of the 26 eye levels, everything is unchanged except for the Great Vault from 14s and higher is 3 eye levels lower at any given slot, and due to the new, or also the crafting gear is 3 eye levels lower at every slot, which we talked about in the previous video. But yeah, so the Great Vault is 3 eye levels lower. Now this is the item level. This doesn't show you the item reward track. The reward track is actually also getting changed a little bit. So end of dungeon is the same in terms of you need to do 17s for hero gear and 9s for champion gear. But of course, effectively 17s are getting buffed in end of dungeon because hero is going up 1 extra tier, or 1 extra eye level jump, 1 out of 6 instead of 1 out of 5. Great Vault hero gear is also getting buffed, right? So it's also a little bit better in all these slots, except 16s and 17s are going to give hero track gear instead of the myth track gear that they currently give. So relative to mid-season, there is more incentive to actually get up into the 18s and 19s for the myth track gear, and ideally the 20s, right? The 20s are going to give you the highest eye level, which saves you one crest, which is going to be a limited resource in the first few weeks. So high-end players will still, no matter what was happening with these hero and myth track jumps, the highest end players would be wanting to complete at least 820s each week. But if you're somebody that was spamming 16s in the middle of the season this time around, there is going to be incentive to go a little higher if you can get to the 18s. Now, if you're looking at this and you're like, wow, this sucks, they're nerfing me compared to last season, you gotta remember, last season there actually wasn't this myth track stuff at the start of the new season. So last season, if you wanted to get the base gear from Great Vault, you had to do a 20, whereas now you can still kind of do an 18 and upgrade it eventually. So relative to the start of last season, it's actually still better in basically every way, especially when you factor in the extra eye level that the hero track gear can go. If you do get the hero track gear and the extra eye level the myth track gear can go. But it is a little bit worse than the middle of the season in terms of the level to farm. And yeah, it does mean that we're going to probably settle into 18. Anybody who was doing 16 spams, if you were capable of doing the 18s, 18 spams will be the new thing instead of that. All right. We also have some new health potions and embellishments that have been added to the PTR. Here is a look at the alchemy health potions. So we have one that gives you a nice heal and then a heal over time effect, which, you know, that's nice. Nice little 6-second hot. I don't know how this stacks up in terms of number compared to the standard health pot. Presumably this is more total but less up front. And this is a 1 quality tooltip we're looking at, so presumably this goes quite a bit up. I mean, I guess we could look at 1 quality... We could just look at 1 quality refreshing healing potion and see what that does. Refreshing. Okay, yeah, so it's slightly less up front, but then almost double when you factor in the hot. I suspect that this will be sometimes useful, like if you're trying to health pot like a raid rot damage intermission. But generally, when you're looking to health pot, it is more about your health in the next 1 second than the next 6 seconds. So I think this will probably not be used. Well, it's almost as much health up front, though, so maybe it's just better. Then there's also a potion of withering dreams, which is toxic, and it instantly heals you for almost 4 times a regular health pot, but you suffer 3 times the regular health pot's damage over 30 seconds, which is actually not that much DPS that you're going to take from this. Interestingly, this one has some incentive to carry different ranks around for the different size healing you might need. Now, realistically, people aren't going to have 7 different health pots keybound for different situations, but you might swap one in if there's a specific fight or based on your character's health pool, if you need something to lay on hands yourself. And then, yeah, you're taking... So what is this? This is like 15k DPS on this 1-star version that you'd be taking as a result. So sizable, but not insurmountable. Possibly worth it under the right circumstances. You know, you gotta top yourself for something. Then sometimes you got to. I suspect this will be quite good for tanks as well. If you think about something like the Rashok tank combo, that's something where like you really want to top yourself immediately sometimes and get all the way topped. And this would be good for that. All right, we have a new blacksmithing embellishment. The Flourishing Dream Helm is a plate verse crit helmet that says taking damage has a chance to cause a slumbering dream to flourish, which shields you and causes a ally to get marked within 30 yards. If you move within 5 yards of that ally, it will shield you and your ally for another 2/3 of the initial shield value here, which this is an eye level 350 version, so presumably it'll be a larger shield. Interesting effect, maybe pumps out a sizable amount of raw HPS, and I like that it is a embellishment that is in that defensive space, because they've got a lot of them that are kind of this generic offensive embellishment, and this one seems like a nice kind of generic defensive embellishment. Not really something you can rely upon for life saving, although I guess you could, in theory, hold the mark and then walk on top of somebody when you need the shield, but I doubt that's a realistic play pattern. Then we have Dreaming Devotion, which is a new enchant. It's a new devotion enchant for your main hand weapon. And this one gives your helpful spells a chance to make a flower bloom near your target, which heals nearby allies. So a new healer embellishment here. Wonder if this will be better than Sophic for them. We'll have to see. Dream Tender's Charm is a new jewel crafting embellishment, which says, gain stacking crit while above 70% health. This will probably sim very well for some specs, although you have to be really careful to not use this in a situation where you're frequently going to lose the stacking crit, which I assume is how this works, is once you get dropped below 70% health, you're going to lose all the crit. If it just stops stacking for a while, but you save what you have, then maybe this will just be generically great for any crit enjoyers. But my guess is that this will sort of be sim bait for most real high-end content, because it will fall off frequently during that kind of content. Leatherworking offers Verdant Conduit, which is spells and abilities sometimes provide secondary stats. Very generic, likely to be a very decent choice for just, you want an embellishment, proccing a secondary stat is a baseline below which it's hard to go, right? Like you will take this instead of not taking a good embellishment. If you're one of those people that's looked at the embellishment list and you're just like, there's nothing here for me. Last patch, you would just take Shadow Flame embellishment, right? Shadow Flame patch. Even if you weren't like a DPS, you just slam those. This time around, a Verdant Conduit, if you're a tank or healer, this is providing defensive value, which Shadow Flame patch did not. But this will probably provide less damage. And yeah, generically, this might be good for DPS that enjoy stats as well. Some casters, fire mages, for instance, where maybe using Shadow Flame patch, will perhaps prefer the Verdant Conduit instead, although maybe they'll try and get away with this Dream Tender's Charm instead. And then finally, we have the Verdant Tether, which is a healer embellishment that says, when healing an ally, tether and increased versatility. So maybe this means you and the most recent ally you've healed gain versatility, something like that. I'm not sure. And yeah, these are the new embellishments and profession items coming with the new patch. Seem pretty good. These all seem situationally useful, at least, so I suspect that these will all get their time in the sun, or at least be considered, which, that's better than a lot of embellishments do, and I like that direction for things. In terms of profession balance, jewel crafting getting another thing is maybe a little much, but, is what it is. Seems reasonable. All right, then finally, this isn't really for this video. If you're interested in looking at some beautiful zones and stuff, there's a bunch of stuff on Wowhead that is like tier set cosmetics, mount cosmetics, pet cosmetics, but there's also this zone preview that came from Blizzard itself, actually, of the Emerald Dream Zone. And here's something that I specifically wanted to point out because I think they're really good. We've got these sky boxes associated with the Emerald Dream, with this one's Emerald Dream Flame skybox, so maybe this is in part of the raid, or maybe part of the Emerald Dream that the Druids of the Flame are attacking. And then here is the skyboxes associated with Farak, which is super, super sick. Like, look at these things. So, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool graphics that have been coming out with this patch that you can go look at on Wowhead. Usually not going to be included in these videos, but I did want to specifically pick out these skyboxes and also just kind of do a one-time, letting you know that content is generally going to be skipped by these videos. All right, that's our 10.2 news for today. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Next videos on this channel will likely be, if there's new 10.2 news, which there possibly will be a new build on Wednesday. That's usually the day for new builds. We'll do a video about that. And then otherwise, we will have raid testing and dungeon testing videos. So maybe a bit of a spam of videos over the weekend. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.